authenticated a document. All of this, Mr. Chairman, after she invoked her right to remain silent. 9 separate factual assertions and the authenticating of a document after, with the advice of counsel, I hasten to add, with the advice of counsel sitting right behind her, she testified to 9 separate factual assertions and then authenticated a document. So, Mr. Chairman, the case law to me is clear. That is not the way the Fifth Amendment works. You don't get to tell your side of the story and then avoid the very process that we have in this system for eliciting the truth, which is cross-examination. Why do we have a confrontation clause? To my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, why do we have a confrontation clause? Because cross-examination is the best technique, the best tactic for eliciting the truth. And every witness has to sit on the stand, and they have to weigh and balance. What are the benefits of saying nothing, which is my right? Or what are the benefits of getting my side of the story out? That's what you have to balance. Saying nothing versus telling your side of the story. But, Mr. Chairman, there is no contemplation in the Constitution that you tell your side of the story and you're never cross-examined. And the Supreme Court agrees with us. Mr. Chairman, these are just 2 quotes from the Supreme Court. A witness may not testify voluntarily about a subject and then invoke the privilege against self-incrimination when questioned about the details. Similarly, in Brown versus United States, a witness waives the privilege by voluntarily giving exculpatory testimony. A denial of activities that might provide a basis for prosecution constitutes a waiver of that privilege. Yes, she has a Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. She sat there and could have said nothing. We had a witness this week who did that. We had a witness this week who said nothing. She didn't. She made 9 separate factual assertions, and then she authenticated a document. If that is not waiver, if that is not express waiver, then surely it's implied waiver, and if it's not implied waiver, what is? If giving your side of it, 9 separate facts, and Mr. Chairman, I have to add this. Because aside from certain factual assertions, this witness volunteered, and this is important, she testified that she has done, quote, nothing wrong. I know my friends on the other side of the aisle will conclude that is an amazingly broad statement. It's tantamount to a double negative. I've done nothing wrong. So let's flip it around. What she's really saying is I have done everything right. To say I've done nothing wrong is to really say I have done everything right. So, Mr. Chairman, what possibly could be a broader assertion of fact than to say I have done everything right? I want to say this in conclusion because my time is almost up. I have had private conversations with colleagues on the other side of the aisle whose opinion I respect very much. And I'm not going to disclose those private conversations other than to say I benefit from their counsel. There's some very, very good attorneys on the other side of the aisle, as there are on this side of the aisle. The way I view this, Mr. Chairman, is this is Congress asserting its constitutional obligation to provide oversight. Yes, she has a constitutional right to remain silent, and she could have invoked it, but she did not. And we have a constitutional obligation to provide oversight. So we can have another hearing. I have great respect for the gentlelady from the District of Columbia, but let's be honest with each other. There's not going to be one more fact that's part of this record. Not one. We're going to bring a law professor to say that she waived. You're going to bring a law professor to say that she did not, and we'll be right back where we are today. All the facts that we're going to have are here right now. 9 separate factual assertions. If that is invoking your right to remain silent, then there's no such thing as waiver. No such thing.
Welcome to The View. Joining us as our guest co-host is the host of the Dana Show on Glenn Beck's The Blaze Network, Dana Lash. Dana, so let's just start out with what's going on, because I'm telling you, our Twitter feeds,
Sherry, mine, and Whoopi's were just
blown up. People really were pissed off that you were coming here. And so did you get that as well?
Yeah, I did. I'm not, and you're not, so that's all that matters, right?
So angry.
Yeah.
It kind of always happens that way whenever you have somebody who works in politics, and if they go anywhere, I guess, outside of their reservation, they just don't want other people to hear it. They don't want them to have a voice.
But some people felt that you had been, I mean, I hate titles, but that some people you had been a liberal, then you became a conservative, so people blame whatever side they're on.
Flip it
so
around,
why did you go from being, quote, liberal to conservative?
Oh, there's so much that plays into that. I became a mother, and then
Does that make you a conservative?
And I think it helped me, you know, honestly, in my perspective, it sort of helped me open up my mind a little bit more, because when I was a liberal, it was liberal. I mean, and I wasn't just a liberal. I mean, I campaigned for the Clintons. I was, you know, big-time college Democrat. I did Oppo research.
And
I was a mean one.
when you became a mother?
Yeah, I did, because I thought, you know what, I need to treat people a little bit better. And I kept thinking I'm progressive first and everything else is second. My political ideology is first. That's what I valued more importantly than anything else.
What I'm trying to get at is why did you go from a liberal to a conservative?
Like, what about the liberalism made you say, this is not working for me being a mother?
I started recognizing that there were a number of platforms with which I did not agree, that liberals, that progressives hold, that I realized that I didn't hold anymore.
Like what? Like, name a few.
Well, big government is one of them. Fiscal responsibility. Like, I started realizing the importance of people should be good stewards to their fellow man. And really, big government is it's the problem of what happens when people just forget that they should be kind and they should help people and they should voluntarily do it.
That 9/11 was what changed you.
Yeah, because the last thing about me that was that I held on to that was pretty progressive was I was against all military intervention, no matter what. I was against Iraq. I was against absolutely everything. And then 9/11 happened. And I had always thought that, well, no one's going to come over to the United States and ever do anything to us here. Why do we need all this in defense? Why do we need all this military spending? Nothing like this is ever going to happen. We're just, you know, we're just being weird about it. And then 9/11 happened.
And you have a very strong gun stance, I found out as I read the timeline.
Yeah, a lot of articles for us to read on you.
Yeah, I know, and I'm sorry about that.
But I do find it interesting that you say, you know, we should be kinder to each other. We really should. Right. But doesn't that mean that the discourse we have about the things that freak various people out, you know, whether it's guns or abortion, should be held with a respect for each other's views?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree that. And I realize, too, that when you are in politics, it's hard because people expect you, if you're a liberal or a conservative, it doesn't matter. They want to see a show.
Well, I do want to tell you one thing.
Just to clear up, your position on gun control is what?
I am staunchly for the Second Amendment, as it is.
And then, what about
and abortion?
I'm pro-life.
Okay. So at least
One thing I want to say, though, before we move on, that we do agree on is homeschooling. I'm about to start homeschooling Evan here in New York City.
Awesome.
And I know that
Wonderful.
what was the decision to homeschool?
Well, we just moved from St. Louis to Dallas about almost 2 months ago. And in St. Louis City, where we live, some of the schools had lost accreditation. The district that we were in, I mean, it was a city school. It wasn't doing too well. There was a lot of drama, a lot of scandal. And so you really didn't have a lot. There weren't very many choices. Exactly. So, I mean, you could go to a very expensive private school, and it's just one religious denomination, or you could go to a public school and, you know, kind of cross your fingers and hope for the best. And so we chose homeschooling.
But isn't it tough? I mean, you have to you have to be the teacher in all the subjects.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, it would be a lot easier if I just sent my child. But you're not doing the teaching.
You're having are you hiring someone?
We have tutors come in, but I do handle all the curriculum. And the great thing about homeschooling is that you can get a prepackaged curriculum, which you're going to find out there's so many options.
I did it for 2 years, and I love when I get my break when Jennifer goes to school. God bless you.
So, you know...
Isn't it hard to avoid all of? Everyone always says, "Oh, well, they're not socialized," but it's actually that's the biggest problem because the social activities there are so many. You have to like fight invitations to do this with a group and this with a group, and actually focus on the schoolwork. So there's so many myths about homeschooling.
Wow.
Well, that was a wonderful color.